Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Dropouts Podcast. We are here with JP and Shawnee B. Today is a really exciting episode. We're going to be talking about what JP titles the art of persuasion, aka selling.
Nice.
We got a master salesman in the form of JP here today. He's going to shed a little bit of light.
The Grandmaster.
The Grandmaster on his illustrious.
This episode is not about me.
It's not. It's not.
No.
No. I just, I think we were talking about this before, like that, what has coined the term sales has very much, I guess, like sales has always had like negative connotations. Even Jeremy Minor talks about sales. He says like how sales people viewed in society, and this is like lower status, for example. And the idea is, well, I think what we want to talk about today is sales and stuff like in the more traditional sense, but also the fact that like the art of persuasion or
influence,
like it's just it's everywhere. It's like I mean everyone
Sales
that we know sells something. Everyone's selling something.
Totally.
Right? Everyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who it is.
You sell to your husband, sell to your wife, sell to your kids.
Yeah. I want to play golf on the weekend.
Yeah.
I'm selling.
Yeah, that's right.
There's one, there's so many of those online sales figures that you see on Instagram and on TikTok and on YouTube. I don't know. They've just sort of, they've been around for a while, but a lot of them have been like investing more into content lately. Yeah. But there's one guy, I think it might be Daniel something. I follow him on Instagram.
Dude, what is he?
He's like a good-looking bloke. He's slim. He's short, and he's very enthusiastic when he talks.
Oh, is he half Asian?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I just remember like a Eurasian-looking dude.
He kind of does. When he talks, and it's funny you mentioned like, you're selling to your mum and your dad and all these other things. He's talking to a bunch of these people that come to his talks, and he's like, you people don't even put in the same effort that you do in your own sales career, but you sell to your mum, your dad, your sister, your cousin every day. When you're like, come to this concert, you sell other people's brands. You say, come to this show, I'm going to go, and you recruit people to come on board. And he's like, you guys are doing it, but you don't even put half the fucking effort into your own business.
That's like the highest form of sales. Like if you get to the point where people are doing that on your behalf, then you've done something right.
But sales is like one of the oldest occupations. Like in terms of like, not occupation, but in terms of like, as you say, a skill. Just being able to sell your ideas, because that's all it is. And just selling an idea.
And the thing is, I think like what we want to do, like part of what we want to do today is probably not necessarily like break the stigma, but I think talk about like where the benefit, like what the value is in like in I guess in sales in the traditional sense. What I mean by that is, for example, like there's it's not a saying in sales, but like people always talk about, or we always talk about the fact that like people have a set of problems, right? People tend to sit on their problems. They have issues. They have whatever it may be. Let's just say, for example, like I'm just going to use the example of property because it came to mind. Like people have, they have current state problems, or they have future state problems that they're just sitting on. They think about them all the time, but they don't necessarily do something about them. For example, they know that in 10 years' time they want to be able to buy this house and live in this particular area, or do X or Y or Z. And people tend to sit on those problems. And I think what good salespeople are really able to do is help flesh out and do what we call like discovery, as you know, Maddie, like on those problems, to understand a bit about what they are, like how they can impact someone. Like talking to someone says that like for example, when it comes to like buying a property, or when it comes to like building wealth long term, you talk to people about what their goals are, for example, and then you say, okay, what happens if you're not able to achieve this? Or what happens if you're not able to make X amount of money, or to buy that first investment? What does that mean for you in 5 or 10 years' time? And kind of getting people to the point where they come to their own realization. So I think good salespeople and people in sales are able to uncover pain that already exists. Because I think the stigma to do with sales is like salespeople like push things down your throat. Like they get a product, they shove down your throat.
Like door-to-door salesman.
Or if I'm trying to tell you in the same context, like, oh mate, you got to go and buy a property. You got to, it's the best thing to do. You got to buy a property. Or there's a guy, like you said, Shawnee, came the other day. It's like, oh, you the owner of the house? He literally came. He's like 19 years old. Good bloke.
That's a good start. So, 19 years old, knocking on doors.
As opposed to like giving a.
Tell me about yourself. Like,
right. Some people give like a laundry list of these features, and they're just like listing
no
these
benefits.
And I'll just premise by saying I am not an experienced salesman. However, in the last 6 months, I've learned so much from being put in an environment where I have to like make calls to people about a product that I'm still really unfamiliar with. And it's been a lot of fun. And I think like before we go into, I guess, the theoretical side of sales, because that's definitely not what we want to be doing so much today. I think we want to be talking about, I guess, some of the funny sides of sales, some of our own anecdotal stories, as well as like just comparing some funny of those, I guess, online influencers that claim to be these sales gurus, because there's a lot to unpack in this episode.
How about we start with this? What's something that you've tried to sell to either your wife, to either your mum or dad, whether it's recent, to somebody that you've tried to like sell an idea to try and get something from them, or try go do something. Like not in terms of like selling, as in like corporate,
convincing,
or just convincing someone or trying to influence someone. Well, yours was golf. Is that like every time?
Well, no. Mine was actually not that long ago, maybe 3-4 months ago. And I definitely consider this like sales. My brother-in-law, I think I told you guys this story. Their Hilux like broke down. They took it for service, and basically they came back and said like, "Oh, it's going to cost you $3,500 to fix it." Because it's called an EGR cooler. God knows what it is. I don't know. I'll Google it, but I forgot what it means. Anyway, this EGR cooler had blown, cost $3,500. Warranty expired a year ago. So we're completely out of warranty by like 12 months. So there's no chance on that. So they basically gave it to me, and they're like, "Can you like try and sort something out here? We'll speak with Toyota, what have you." Anyway, so I did a bit of research, and it turned out that this particular Hilux, this particular Toyota model, if they had bought that car the following year, it would have had 2 years longer warranty. So rather than 3 years, it would have been 5 years. So basically, and then I looked up the lifespan of this EGR cool, all this stuff. Basically went back to Toyota and I said like, "Look, we're not happy with this. If we'd bought the car a year before, like it's just not fair that we copped it when it comes to the warranty. Like this would have been covered if we had bought the car a year later. So can you kind of escalate this to Toyota and what have you?" Anyway, I went back and forth with them for a while. They first said they couldn't do anything, and I said, "Look, can you escalate to head office, because like we're not happy with the situation, what have you." Anyway, long story short, they came back like 3-4 weeks later after a lot of back and forth, and they said they cover everything, parts and labor.
Oh wow, I love that. It's the best feeling. Same thing happened with me with Mazda a few months ago, where like
was that for your key?
There was no, not the key. There was an issue with the brakes.
The key.
The key was a fucking nightmare. And it is a good feeling when you're like going to the person that sold you something, and then you like kind of pitch back to them like, no. You guys owe me, and throw it back in their court.
But that's what people don't think they can do, right? Like they don't have that, like feel like they have the ability to be able to throw it back to those type of corporations.
Correct.
Where like just then, and maybe your instance, you like go, "Okay, well this is what you want from me, but now this is what I want from you."
I think the reason for that might be because you're in sales, so you're now used to the feeling of like handling objections and having and being put in an uncomfortable situation when you're like, and because that's in sales, I think that was the hardest thing to initially get over, is like the idea that someone can say no, or the idea that you're trying to get to a desired outcome.
Just being told no in general.
Just being told no. Yeah. One of the hardest fucking things, bro, that I found when I first started doing calls, and like if my boss ever listens to this podcast, he'll probably laugh, because like pausing when you're talking. Yeah. I think when you get so nervous on the phone for the first time, I remember like my first call, I was like, "Hey, this is Maddie from blah, 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 blah. The reason I'm calling out today is XYZ." And then just like...
Shut up.
Yeah, pausing's the magic bullet.
Pausing. And it's so hard because you just want to keep talking, because when you're in this... It's like when you talk to a pretty girl for the first time, you're like, "Hey," and you're just like rambling, and she's just like...
It's because it's tension. Like there's a tension, and you want to break it because it's uncomfortable.
"He who speaks first loses."
Yeah, that's right.
He who speaks first. That, I don't know. And I think as well, like everyone's got this perception of what sales can be like, especially from like watching movies like The Wolf of Wall Street. I remember when I first watched Wolf of Wall Street,
I'm not fucking going anywhere.
I'm not fucking leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving.
But then when he wrote that script, and I think there are still elements of that are, I guess, like relatable to sales today.
Who, Belfort?
What's that?
Belfort?
Jordan Belfort. But I think, like, have you noticed from when you first moved into sales to now, things that have stayed the same or things that have changed?
I just think that like more than ever, like again, I just don't think the word sales has really kept up with like the job itself. Like now more than ever, it's always about uncovering and understanding customer problems,
right?
And then ultimately like helping people come to the realization that they either may or may not want to solve for them, and like that's their choice, you know. But the good salesperson is able to talk to someone and understand like at its core, what do they care about the most, and then, you know, they say like solution sell back to them, help them understand what the benefits could be. Because the thing is, these aren't like normal conversations. People don't have these conversations daily,
right?
You know what I mean, no. They might feel they have some particular pain points or what have you, but people don't like think about them in the long term. People don't go, if I keep doing this for like 6, 12, 18, 24 months, what does it mean for me?
No, they
You know
put
what
it
I
to the back of the. Yeah. I'll tell you a time that I had to try to sell very quickly, and it was like Shark Tank. We talked about that before.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shark Tank.
It was similar, but so back when I was 12 years old, this is when the Eminem CD came out. First Eminem CD came out. Right?
Okay.
And I went to. I was living in New Zealand. I came back to Australia to visit my mum. She took me out to buy my birthday and Christmas present, and I wanted a Discman, and I wanted the Eminem CD. Right, so we went to got the Discman. Went to Sounds, and I knew I was going to go get the CD straight away. Went to it, grabbed the CD out, took it to my mum, and I said, "This is what I want. Can you go get it for me?" She said no straight away. And in the instant, I had to try sell to her why I could get this, even though in the corner it had the swearing, explicit language. Yeah, and I was just.
How did you justify that?
I just said,
"Fuck you, mum."
I was 12 years old. Yeah. Well, my mum was massive on
Swearing.
Yeah,
Like massive on not swearing.
Yeah, 100%. So I was standing there trying to sell this idea that I was old enough to be able to do that. I'd been listening to the tape already that I'd got from my cousin. So I'd listened to all the songs before, and I was going through all this stuff and trying to just sell this idea that I was old enough to do it. But she eventually said no.
But mum.
So I got
Oh, sorry.
So I ended up getting the Destiny's Child album.
You got the what?
Destiny's Child.
Oh no, you did not.
When you mentioned that story,
That's funny.
It made me think of if I was 12 years old in your position and I was you trying to convince my mum to let me get a CD, which is something that she's totally opposed to because of the swearing in it, right? And it just made me think about some of the small techniques, or I guess tone changes in your voice, or ways that you pose a question to get over some objections. And I guess some of the small things that I've learned in the last few months is and you'd be so familiar with this, is using language that's non-confrontational. So for example, my boss said to me using language would you be totally opposed to? Because if you say that to someone, they're going to be like, oh, well, I'm not opposed to it. So they almost concede.
Confirm
rather than, oh, can we do this?
Yeah.
It's an easy yes or no. Rather than would you be opposed to? I tried this out in an everyday situation. Me and my friend, we went out to dinner, and we went to this restaurant in Manly, and it was fully chockers. Couldn't get a table at all, and we knew that the next in table was going to be in about 45 minutes to an hour. I said, look, I don't suppose there was anything that you could do to help us out. It might be out of the question. And he's like, just give me a sec. And he went and had a look. He's like, all right, I've just pushed some tables along. We can come back in the next 10.
Would you be totally opposed to us sitting on the floor
in the kitchen?
Oh no,
because humans, they
psychology.
Want it's psychology. Yeah. They want to be able to help you out. They don't want to be seen as especially Australians as well. I don't know if it's different if you've ever sold to companies in America or the States, but I feel like Australians are very non-confrontational. We concede to people, whereas in Americans, I've heard that sales in America is a lot more transactional.
It's a lot more transactional because they're used to here is a lot more relationship based. People are used to identifying and connecting with the person they're speaking to, whereas in the US, so big, they're getting calls from everywhere. Yeah. They're being sold to from Nevada to LA to New York, and they don't really care, right? It's all not that I don't really care. It's that they are conscious that it may well just be a transaction. It doesn't necessarily have to be, and kind of they don't mind the whole pitch me. That's not a thing here.
Yeah.
You don't pitch anyone.
Yeah. Who's the best pitch and what you?
Yeah. Give me a pitch, or I'll give you a minute, or I'll give you 2 minutes. Go for it. Whereas that it still happens here, but less of a thing, I think.
Well, and I think something I'm interested in is what drives someone to sales in the first place. I think for me, right, and for most salespeople, it's to make money, because the idea of working a job for the set amount that you're gonna make and going up, because I know people that work in corporate, they might work in finance, or they might work as a head of marketing, and every day they're going to work knowing that no matter what they do, no matter how much how hard they work, they're going in there for the same set amount, and it's kind of disheartening, especially when you're treated like shit from your boss or whatever the case is. That's shit.
A lot of the workforce is products and services, so you have to sell. Whether it's a product or a service.
But are you rewarded for it?
That's the thing. Are you compensated? Are you do you have a commission, other commissions involved and stuff? The thing is, what's funny about that? I only came to that realization later. I definitely was one of the people that fell into sales. I'm not saying that you didn't fall into it, but well, at the time I went into recruitment, and I guess I didn't realize how much of that job was going to be like sales, right? So I fell into it, and at the time, like I didn't care about money because like, oh man, I was like, for me to be earning 40 grand a year, which is what I started on, that was massive. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, what am I going to do with all this money? Like, what is 40 grand net? Can you calculate that? What's 40 grand net? What's that a month? That's got to be like a couple grand.
Like 40 grand
after tax, yeah.
After tax.
So do it. Someone do calculation.
Okay.
Go on to like
not 40 grand.
So what's 20% of 40 grand? So you probably get taxed 20% of 40 grand, right?
Yeah,
so 5 grand.
Yeah.
So what? So 35 divided by 52.
More zeros.
No, it ain't over a grand.
Yeah, 673.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
that's $2,600 a month.
Fuck, you can't even pay your rent.
Anyway, so I mean, obviously there was more buying power back in the day.
And you live with your parents.
But yeah, like I live with the parents, and like back then it was like hitting the phones and stuff. But yeah, like back then, just getting into it, that for me it was just like, oh my god, I've got a job in corporate, and I'm earning like 40 grand a year, like as opposed to like working at Nike or the movies or whatever.
I think the first time I seen sales like planted in my head was when I, used to watch my dad come home after he'd sold a house.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's where I caught that initial bug of like, where it's exciting if you sell something.
Yeah.
And
like a reward, like a hoop of dopamine.
Yeah, of course. It's a rush, bro. Especially, but I think with tech, especially, your sales cycle is like 3 months. So you what you're doing today, you'll see materialize in like next quarter. Whereas in real estate, or if you're selling cars, or if you're selling something that's a little bit more like higher turnover, you kind of get the reward early. But I remember my dad coming home after he would sell, and I've took a lot from him in terms of like learning from him, but also steering away from some things, because I think that's the first time I seen like the highs and lows of someone working in sales, because he used to be on fucking cloud nine. If you sold $1 million house, come home,
bake dinner,
go out for dinner,
red panty night.
My mum would be my mum would be scared. Nah, he'd go outside. I just remember like very specifically, like he'd go out.
Why would your mum be scared?
Because it's just like, oh my god, it's red penny night. You sicko.
I didn't even. I just make his Conor McGregor says red penny night.
That's what he's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
was he?
So my dad used to go outside and like pour himself a scotch and like overlook the veranda and like and light up a cigar.
So you knew it was
I knew.
yeah, we're on here.
We're on.
It was like I mean, it's also, I feel like a mad feeling of like, and like I think obviously this varies, but man, no better feeling than when someone's like, obviously like for your dad, for example, someone that sold their house that's happy with the sold price, or when we like you're selling someone something like, and it's again, like it's funny because you say that you're selling something to someone, but if you talk to that person, what are they saying? They're saying I'm buying something.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like,
In
their eyes, like they're making a purchase of something that's it's a exchange of value.
Yes.
So like it's nice to then, I had a customer come back the other day who was like started recording a bunch of content like using Riverside, and they're just absolutely frothing it, right? Like that's just a mad feeling because that when people sign on the dotted line, you obviously want them to feel as excited when they're using something or they've got something that they've bought as you feel like when you've got them to sign on the dotted line.
Well, that's like in PT. Like you see when they start getting the results.
Yeah.
They start turning up more. They start doing the things that they're supposed to do, I guess. So in the beginning, when you sell them, it's all exciting. It's great. You've got them. But then down the road, when you start to see those results coming through, you start to feel, then you're like, okay, this is why I do it.
Purpose.
What was? Can you think of like your first big sale that really got you? And I'd love to hear this from your end.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like I don't want to say it's a distant memory. I mean, I definitely remember it because there was like a tradition that we would. This was LinkedIn specifically. I used to work there.
Where's that?
It's called LinkedIn
Professional Network.
Yep.
Billion members now.
It's like a Facebook
Pretty crazy.
for business.
6 billion people in the world. Billion members on your LinkedIn. So I know the one at LinkedIn where like I printed out the DocuSign, the contract, and it was just like sick feeling. Honestly, I don't remember that much more than that.
What about maybe not the first story, like a really, I guess, memorable story from your sales career?
Oh my God, I have a pretty funny one.
Okay.
It's like not necessarily selling related, but it is. Anyway, we had this thing where when I was in SDR, so SDR or BDR.
For the people that don't know, give us a breakdown of what tech looks like.
So basically the way that sales works in software and in technology is that typically it's split up into like different roles, meaning that there will be a BDR, what's called a business development rep, or a sales development rep, SDR, and that person's responsibility is to call people, to email people, to contact people,
Lead generation.
and generate leads from them. So generate interest from those people, and then to set up calls in the calendar for another person who's called an account executive or an AE. So in this instance, the BDRs or the SDRs, the sales development reps, are setting up meetings for, in this instance, like the rep, which is what I do now, but I was doing the BDR role before. So anyway, I'd obviously make a lot of these calls all
You
day.
were pond scum like me.
Yeah.
the bottom feeders.
Honestly,
The leeches.
I firmly believe that the people that would see the most success in the career of the sales, the persuasion career, the career of persuasion, are the people that start in the SDR, BDR world. But,
Pause. Do you think the SDR role is harder than the AE role?
yes,
Everyone says this.
it is.
Fucking hell,
It
hey.
is harder. Of course, it's harder. Well, because you're just grinding.
You're just grinding.
You're just grinding. But
Go
but that's why it's good, because
Which
you
is
get
good.
to the AE role,
Yeah.
you're like,
Sink or
this
swim.
is the life,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're making way more money,
100%.
which is why it's hectic. That's why it's a good training ground.
Promote me, Ron.
Anyway, Ron Burgundy. So anyway, basically what we would do then was I was working with 3 account executives as the BDR. So I'd be spread across their accounts. I'd be calling their contacts and lining up meetings for them every week, right? And then I have a certain amount of targets for meetings and stuff. Anyway, what we would do at that time is we would put the notes of the call in the calendar. Right next to the actual calendar invite, we'd set up another invite with the notes so that the AE could see the notes. And what I would often do, I put the notes in and then I'd hype myself up on the notes. In this particular instance, actually, this was when I was an AE and I set up the notes for myself. Sorry, I was an account executive and I had made this call myself, and then I wrote my own notes in my own calendar. So what I did was I put in the notes like a bunch of stuff about the company, and then I wrote at the end, pardon my French, "They're ready to go, Juice. Go get them, you fucking sick cunt. You're the fucking best."
Do I know where this
some
is
hardcore
going?
shit. Then, instead of inviting the contact or the prospect to the calendar invite with the invitation, I invited them to my notes. So he saw my notes,
so good.
and then I had no idea, and he replied. Oh, and I signed off, "Go get him, Juice, you fucking..."
about yourself?
I was calling myself the Juice.
Juice World.
He replied to my calendar invite, and he goes, "Probably should be careful who you're inviting to your notes. Thanks, Juice. Wink face."
That's good.
It was good.
What a good
But, bro,
sport.
I was actually.
Was there a pit in your stomach?
I had a heart attack. I had a heart
of
attack.
course.
I'm like, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job.
You start packing your boxing.
So what did he say? what did he say to you?
Bro,
What was his
I'm
response
shattered.
roughly?
It was literally that. It was like,
Thanks, what?
or like something along the lines of should be careful who you're inviting to see your notes.
Winky face.
And then he just signed off by saying, "Thanks, Juice, wink face."
No, that's good, bro.
What a
That's
good sport.
and,
Good
then,
banter.
every time he emailed me from then on out, he ended up buying.
You closed him.
From then on out, and every time he emailed me, he'd sign off with "Thanks, Juice."
That's hectic.
You're lucky he was a good sport.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You're lucky he was a good
I know.
sport.
But it was just funny because obviously the note was just me hyping myself up.
Yeah, of
go
course.
get him, and it was.
Yeah, but you surely got to understand that on the other side, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I do
you know
have
what I mean?
I do have a similar story. It's not sales related, but when I was working at MISC at Para, there's the receipt that you can print off, and you can leave notes in. So, for example, say you come to the restaurant, you order a bacon egg roll and a large cappuccino. People used to come in and order extra hot, and this one lady came in and she's like, "I want it so hot." So I just wrote on the note,
burn the coffee.
bacon and egg roll, and then large cap, and I typed in the notes, large cap, extra fucking hot, burn the shit out of it. And then I was like, "Hey," she's like, "Thanks, I'll just pay for my thing." I was like, "No, do you want a receipt?" She's like, "Yep."
Oh,
Printed
you
it, gave
gave her
her a
a
receipt, and she's like, "Thank you." And then she read it, and she was like, absolutely filthy. And I was just like hiding. I was
How
like,
did you know you gave her the wrong one?
I gave her the right receipt, but I didn't know that the notes would print off on the receipt.
And then when did you realize?
When she got the receipt and was mortified while she was reading it.
Oh my
She was
goodness.
What did she say?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if she said anything
Burn
to
the
the
shit
manager
out of it.
or whatever that was, but I was just like,
Burn
well,
the
fucking
shit.
burn.
Yeah,
Burn
it's
the
like-
shit
What do you
out
want
of
me to do?
Yeah, that's
Fucking
right.
hell, burn the shit out of the coffee. That's actually a funny as hell story.
That's cool. That's cool.
That is funny. Go get him, Juice.
It's like calling you Juice.
The Juice.
Do you know where that came from? It was funny. We had anyway. Some of the guys from school they call me they call me Juice.
How come?
Or
Like-
Juicy P. Well, because we had the Battle of the Bands
Battle of the
Ooh.
Band.
at school.
I remember
once,
that.
And then me and one of the other guys from school got up on the microphone. The boys were like, "Oh, go get up on the mic," and we started rapping like the Notorious B.I.G.
Oh, hectic.
So that's where the name Juice came from.
Okay.
I may or may not have pushed it myself. Call me Juice.
You started
call me Juice.
That
you
sto-
started the gossip about yourself.
I started my own nickname. That's the lamest
That's
thing
such
I've
a
ever heard.
JP thing.
badly. That story did remind me of something like the quote from. So we've been given this book. Do you know Sandler training?
Oh yeah. Oh, you guys do Sandler.
Sandler.
That's old school.
You know what? I don't know. Is it? So what's the new form of training
Well,
methodology?
the newest
then?
is actually Winning by Design.
Okay.
That's me, Weef. Hello.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, the other one before that was like Medic.
Okay.
You heard of that?
Yeah. Medic.
Medic,
Yeah.
same thing. But the newest one is by a company called Winning by Design, which is like that's the new one that like all the cutting edge sales. Yeah, it's by Winning by Design, but it's basically it's called Spiced.
Okay.
Situation, problem, impact, critical event. What's the E?
What's the EJP?
What's the E? I forgot. And then D is like decision process. So situation is like, what is the situation? What are the actual events surrounding like this prospect's problems or whatever they're going through? The P is the pain. So like, what are the pain points and what are the specific challenges? The I is what impact would your solution have on solving those pain points or those problems?
Right.
Then the C is the critical event. So critical event's really important because what that means is like, let's use the context of buying a house, right? So, because obviously that's what I think about all the time, buying houses. Really. So like, for example, someone says, oh, you don't want to buy a house. Okay, great. No worries. So like, why do you want to buy a house? And like, why do you want to do it now? They're like, oh, you don't want to buy it because of so-and-so. But realistically speaking, let's just say at this point in time, the reason why they want to buy in the next couple of months is because they're going to change jobs or they're going to start their own business, and the salary that they're on now is going to get them a high borrowing capacity. So the critical event is like, well, I actually want to quit my job in a few months and start my own business. And that means I'm going to take a huge reduction on paper on my salary. And the bank is going to look at me in a very different way in a few months. So that's a critical event because what that means is that is driving urgency behind
That's like
sale.
that's like in PT if it's like a wedding coming up or if it's like
Exactly.
a birthday coming up
Anything,
or
that's right.
something
Critical
they
event
wanna aim towards
can be
or-
anything, right?
Yeah.
That's why they call it a
Yeah.
critical event. Like it's a way to understand like what is the realistic time frame.
And it also brings a bit of urgency too.
Exactly.
Urgency
right.
to the
And
sale.
you know if you don't have a critical event that your chances of closing it are going to be lower.
But this thing that you're saying, this spice, this training system, is Sandler the style of training? They're not mutually exclusive because Sandler
there's heaps of Sandler stuff that's involved with that stuff. But I'm saying like you can't, like for example, you can't go and follow like 16 sales methodologies. You got to kind of pick one and go.
Sure.
Yeah, pick and
Sandler is more to do with like techniques, like stripping line, for example. Sandler's like stripping line is when you're like, oh, but like why would you? Oh, like why do you actually have to do this? Like, why not just leave it a few months? Like, why not just do this in 6 months' time? And then they kind of come back. Oh, no. Well, I kind of have to do it now because if I don't do it now, like that's like a technique in Sandler's called stripping line. It's like when you're fishing, that's why they're called stripping line. Rather than pulling, you kind of give the fish more.
Well, just for those for some context as well, David Sandler was in sales and he was trying to find his way in a sales career. He wasn't brought up in a sales household. He was new to, I guess, this skill set, and he was, I guess, one of the driving forces that changed the way people sell things, because he noticed that instead of just giving a laundry list of features, people weren't really receptive to this. He was like, I guess, the first that initiated that process of asking questions and uncovering pain and trying to really relate it to the client. But the reason I brought up Sandler is because your story reminded me of one of the quotes from the book, which is like, either you said something or did something you weren't supposed to, or you didn't say or do something you were supposed to. Either way, you can figure out who was responsible by consulting the nearest mirror. Blaming anyone else is like standing on your own toe. The nearest mirror. Then looking around for the person who made your foot hurt. So I think that's one of, we can talk about getting away from the theoretical side of sales. I think, what do you think are some of the characteristics of someone who's going to succeed in sales? Clearly resilience. What else are some of those key characteristics that you think are absolutely imperative for you to be able to sell in? I
don't know. I guess like we're obviously talking about careers in sales, but I think that obviously, if we're talking about sales in the broader context, I think that
be a great communicator. Be a great communicator, be able to listen. And when we go through and teach our students, at Fit College, we talk about the ALF technique, and it's not so much about like in the sales sort of sit down chat when you're trying to sell PT.
Pause. The ALF technique, Sean. What's that?
So it's even just having a conversation with someone. So ALF is ask, listen, formulate.
Okay.
So what most people do is they ask a question to answer. So as opposed to like listening, they want to jump in and answer the question or have their own conversation. They just want the other person around. So ALF is just ask a question, listen, and then formulate a response for another open-ended question. But then, like you said, it's like the pause in between as well. And then when you listen and they answer the question, you go, okay, so you're saying that you want to use the dumbbells. Okay, so you say you want to use that, and then you go back and ask the question after that. So that's what ALF is. So, obviously just communication, being able to build rapport as well is obviously a big one as well. And because you don't have much time to be able to do that in a lot of sales calls that you guys probably do. Like probably in PT, you have a bit more time to be able to build rapport. But yeah, that's a couple of skills there.
Yeah, I think the listening thing is the thing that sticks out a lot. I think for someone, say for example, someone came into sales and said, how do you think you're meant to sell to someone? I initially would not have thought that there is as much listening needed.
You probably thought it was pitching, right?
Yeah, I just thought it was pitching the whole time. And
tell me about your product.
I'm really realizing so much that like you don't need to talk that much.
No.
Hardly.
And a lot of even Jeremy Minor, that guy that you saw me on his video because he came to Sydney. Like that kind of took it to a new level for me because he talks a lot about tonality. So his whole thing behind tonality is that people determine your intention behind your question by your tonality. So his whole claim is that like now all these people that are doing the similar sort of thing, whether it be selling or what have you, they're all kind of trained in similar. Everyone kind of does similar techniques. Everyone knows about uncovering pain, uncovering the customer problems and what have you. But it is the way that the question is asked or the tonality that's used that determines the intention behind it. For example, if you say to me like, I want to kind of, I want to cut weight or I want to drop some weight in the next kind of 3-4 months, and he goes, oh, like, why is that? Like, whereas a lot of the time he says that when people ask questions, they're asking with intention. Like they're asking with the intention that they know the person that is responding knows they're asking it for a very specific reason. Yeah. As opposed to genuine curiosity, or he talks about confusion and curiosity when you're asking questions like
digging the rabbit hole, or going down the rabbit hole.
Why is that why is that important to you? As opposed to like, oh, okay, and oh, you want to lose some weight? Great. Why is that important to you? Like it just sounds like a rehearsed script.
Not genuine.
That is going to be used again. And he says that the reason people shut down is because people know that these answers are going to be used against them, which is why they don't tend to tell them.
Yeah, but that's also why I never really use the word why because it can come across as a bit of an attack.
Yeah.
In some point. So, for example, when someone weighs in and they don't lose the weight, oh well, why didn't you lose weight this week? As opposed to also what stopped you from being able to lose weight. So again, in terms of the phrasing that you use as well, but then the tonality of that as well.
Something that I learned recently was, it blew my mind like how crazy this was. So I'd just like to share so the 90% figure wasn't plucked out of thin air. So this was talking about the 55-38-7 formula. It was Albert Mehrabian.
What is this?
A researcher of body language who first broke down the components of a face-to-face conversation. This can be on, face-to-face, or this can be nowadays how you're doing your sales calls on Zoom or on a live video call. He found that communication is 55% non-verbal, 38% local, vocal, and 7% words only. This is where the idea that the vast majority of communication is non-verbal originated. But does this really mean that less than 10% of information is conveyed in spoken words? And it's actually true, bro. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, the idea that to get your message across, 55% of that
Body language
is non-verbal, is body language, how you're saying something, how you're standing, when you're communicating with someone. And literally 7% of that is the words. You sit there and just be like,
nuts.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah,
And
people don't
balls
care
and
about what you
just
say.
cheese, tomatoes. I love you. I don't know if it's that, but it might be.
No, I 100% agree. That's why I think that, that's why you find that like the people that you maybe like you like mesh with or you feel an affinity towards. It's maybe less about what they're saying, but how they're saying it, what they're,
how they're open to body language,
how they like gesticulate, how they like move, what they say,
Testiculate.
Gesticulate.
But that comes back down to even when you meet the person, say, because you guys don't do much face to face, do you?
I wish there was more of it.
No.
I think prior to COVID,
back in the day, mate.
Oh, we do more face, like PT's face to face majority of the time.
We used to say like back when face to face was a big thing. We used to say like you're not going to close without seeing them in person. So used to fly to Melbourne, Brisbane, used to get out and about.
How things have changed.
Have you got any kind of Shark Tank scenario or like?
Yeah, I do want to watch one of the Shark Tank videos. There was a couple on there that actually.
We had that chat. We had a chat about Shark Tank before we jumped on, and see some of the pictures, some of the sales pitches that they have.
Yeah, I would like to just get your reaction on them. I think like
these are pure pitches, right?
This is pure pitching,
and that, man, like,
which is a skill in itself. Because the funny thing is that like when you hear people pitch, the people that pitch really well, they describe the current state of whatever it is that they're selling that everyone else is doing, and they describe why that current state is a problem or why those problems are universal.
Yeah, what's missing?
So someone comes and has like I don't know, like I saw a thing the other day of like a pram with like holes in it for golf clubs. And it was like, obviously they were like talking about like, oh, like
take your kids
struggling, trying to get some time off to go and play around, like bring the kid with you, and obviously they're trying to like address the problems up front because they're not obviously in a position, because it's an ad, they can't go and do discovery and ask what your problems are. They're kind of hypothesizing what the problems are. Anyway, go on.
That's a great idea. Is that a product?
Yeah.
But would you do that though?
Because you see a lot of
I don't have a kid.
I know you don't, but would you take your kids to golf?
No.
I would. No,
I wouldn't.
I reckon you would.
Maybe if I was playing, if I was going to go play on my own, and maybe, fuck, who knows? I mean, it's the same as driving the cart around, isn't it?
I haven't watched this video, by the way, so we're just going to play this one here. Excuse me.
What's going on?
Burn those. Why are you selling t-shirts? You can't make any money doing that.
I might. What are your sales for the shirts?
I love the
So I
intense
just released the
music.
shirts co-parent, which is underwear. And so this year we've made $270,000
And how did you sell those?
on our website.
Your ask is $212,000 for 10%, correct?
Yes.
Why wasn't it 200 or 225? 212.
Do I know the real answer to that question?
Yeah.
No, lie to him.
It's
That's
your
not a
lucky
great answer.
number. I know.
Lie to me.
No, it's because I couldn't say 200 without stuttering. So I had to find a number that I could say without stuttering. Because once I stutter, then the whole thing I'm going to forget. So that's kind of why.
That's a great answer. You're an honest guy, man.
I don't lie. I'm sorry.
So who's running this company with you?
It's just me, myself, in my garage, just hanging out, with my lawn chair.
Great.
Hustler.
That's my setup.
I've been there.
Wow.
It's a good time. My friends come over.
You're living the life.
I'm actually living it. Like, even being here, this is a great time.
I love
that.
that.
Like him.
There's an
No
element
like trust.
of 100%. Why do you
like trust?
Why
What do you
was
think
the
about
title of that the best Shark Tank pitch ever? This person is to.
Yeah, but that wasn't the pitch though. That was like after the pitch.
Yeah, I
Like,
know,
when
but
they-
sure.
you know what I mean?
But he had to pitch that was the part where he was trying to get the money.
Trying to get the money. Yeah.
money.
He's selling himself.
But you've seen ones where they come out and they do their pitch and they're just like, no, it's no good. Like, what do you think is going to make a good pitch then? So you got into Shark Tank,
You know what?
What makes a
enthusiasm.
good pitch?
You got to obviously have a script.
One thing I notice a lot of the good ones do is like they have some sort of pattern interrupt. So like usually people are sitting there and they're like listening, they're just like yep. But then someone will bring something out. They'll be like, here, grab one. Everyone grab one. They'll be like, oh, this is cool. Like
Yes.
there's some sort of pattern interrupt that like breaks the This isn't a slide deck. Like, boom, you're engaging.
Yes.
Like, I think those pattern interrupts are really important because it kind of captures attention and engages the audience. So I think, so a lot of the good ones, they always give them something or they...
A pattern interrupt. JP, what's a pattern interrupt?
Okay, so like, I don't know the actual definition, but for example, a pattern interrupt is, let's just say you're running through a slide deck of information. You're running through a slide deck, and a lot of the time in these sorts of situations, people have done these things before, so they go into autopilot.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the person delivering it. I'm actually talking about the audience. They've seen a slide deck presentation before, or they've seen a pitch before, or they've seen X, Y, or Z before, and what happens is they go into like their own autopilot mode where they just go, blank. They just kind of go blank, or they're just kind of in the rhythm of it. A pattern interrupt is when you throw something in that kind of breaks that. I guess the staleness of like that, you know what I mean? Of that interaction.
Like PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah. So let's just say on a PowerPoint presentation, you bring something up, something slides across the screen, makes the audience laugh, or you ask them something and they engage with it. Just some sort of I think a lot of good pitches like that have a pattern interrupt.
I think one of the pictures that I saw was, I'm not sure if you've seen it, so it was a scrubber, but it was a smiley face.
Scrub Daddy.
Oh my
Scrub
God,
Daddy?
bro. We've got one in the sink.
Yeah,
I do want to see this.
Bro, how did this guy... Oh, God.
Bro, that was unreal, that one.
I haven't seen it. Just type in scrub.
There's no short rules from... hang on. I want to hear this guy's regrets from the Shark Daddy pitch.
Made you an extra 100,000. I'm out. I wanted to stick it to her.
First of all, the reason why I never looked at this again is because Scrub Daddy is the second best-selling product in Shark Tank history that ever got an investment. Wow. It's Lori's. Everything she said she would do, she did. So I still got a little ticked off, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to at least raise the price on her. So I ratcheted it up just to make her feel bad about if she's going to do the deal. That means even though I tried to rattle her, I tried to shake her, she still believed in it. So I won the battle, but she's doing so well with the product that Lori clearly won the war. Make sure you subscribe.
You didn't win anything. He didn't even win the battle.
Well, I mean, credit to him for admitting that too.
Yeah. But such a simple product.
Bro, it is a sponge with holes in it.
With a smiley face.
Sometimes
do you know why it's good though? Because it's like you can put the spoon in there, you can clean the fork.
Yeah. And into the
But bro, if
smile.
you would come to me, one of you would come to me and said, listen, I need 50 grand. And I've got this scrub product. I'd laugh in your fucking face.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
I've said that about so many things, bro. Frank Green, bro. Imagine you came and you go, listen, I'm going to start the business. Water bottles, big ones. That are metal.
They're massive.
That are colourful. And then, what about the Stanley ones that are the new ones?
Bro, they're bigger.
Bro, they're bigger.
Yeah, they're bigger.
Stanley
I've got an idea. I've got an idea to like...
They're taking over Frank Green.
Yeah,
like,
no way.
You've seen them. I've got an idea to overthrow Frank Green. Water bottle. Big at the top, small at the bottom. Fits in the car. I guess it's better that it fits in the car. And now, bro, everyone's got them.
Yeah. But is this just this is more than the product itself.
It's marketing.
It's marketing. It's branding.
Marketing,
That's what I'm saying. But Scrub Daddy was more so the product.
Yeah.
Was it? Was Scrub Daddy more so the product?
No, but I mean, like the fact it's on Shark Tank is PR and marketing anyway. So, like, I mean, it probably wouldn't have even got that big.
And she had what? He had what's her name?
I'm sure.
Have you ever thought of a product? Have you ever just thought like, fuck, I'd just like to create an awesome product?
Yes, of course I have. I think about it every fucking day.
It's one of those shower moments where you're just sitting in the Octavian make a video out of this. So imagine this: just showering,
washing his not hair,
showering, washing my hair or lack thereof. Ding, and it just comes to you.
I thought of one the other day, but I forgot it. So.
Yeah, but what's the difference between people that have an idea and these guys? These guys just believe, like
execute,
execution.
Bro, you telling me this is not their first businesses, bro?
No.
There's no way, bro.
No.
You know, 90%, not 90%. I reckon all the people I've ever looked at and I've gone, oh fuck, like, bro. You know what I'm keen to look at? Cool cabanas. I want to know who founded that, bro. The ones on the beaches. Okay. They're everywhere. Do you know what I'm talking about? The tent things, the blue, man. They're everywhere. You go to the beach, you have to. There's hundreds of them. It's like a shelter.
Yeah, it's a shelter. Yeah,
it's one stick in the middle.
Got 4 legs and it's
four like, bro. It's a piece of material over a stick.
Beach products are awesome. Beach products are great.
Yeah.
They're specific, and you can just sell to everyone who goes to the beach during summer.
Yeah.
What would be a cool beach product? I think something for your head. I think there's already them like fold out like.
No, but we have to figure out what
I have one.
First of all, you have to figure out what the problem is when you go to the beach. Well, what's a problem about going to the beach?
Sand
on your feet. You know, so
sand.
What's a product that you can come up with, like a shoe or
hey,
foot condoms by Dropouts.
Wrap your willy. Let's get silly. Get onto the beach and get the sand off
your dick in the sand. What are you doing?
I'm just thinking foot condom.
Yeah, I get you.
You know?
Yeah, but that's generally what it is. It's like, what's the problem? What's the issue? And then obviously you go from there.
What's the issue? Think about it. Think of a product, then do nothing about it.
No,
That's the recipe.
Yeah, keep it in your brain,
That's
and
the
that's
recipe.
it.
Keep it in your brain, and then when someone else does
And
it,
go back to your 9 to 5.
say,
And
I
that's
thought of
it.
that first. Yeah.
Back
Tired
in
of
my
sandy
day
foot
when I had
jobs?
that idea.
Huh?
What?
Tired of sandy foot jobs? We got the perfect product for you. That's bad. Sorry.
Maybe we should do that. Just make a product and just
I would
like
love to make a
action
product.
with it. Action it.
The Dropouts.
We will be millionaires.
What's the problems in here?
I do want to say like Andy. Okay, what about Andy Elliott? Let's have a look at
I
Andy
really
Elliott.
like Andy Elliott.
Do you?
But I mean, what are we going to play
He's
from
full
him?
on Andy Elliott.
Are we going to pull up another video that we haven't,
just wanna say Andy Elliott.
watched before the podcast?
Oh, you put the one on when he's telling that guy that he's unfit and unhealthy on stage, and I think he tells him to take your shirt off, and he's got a gut on him.
You're fat.
Jeremy Miner's
That's
videos
pretty-
are so good, bro. Do sell me this pen, Jeremy Miner one. That one's good.
Oh, he's good, eh? Yeah, he's good.
I'm going to tell you this, my entire company, my entire team, if you don't have a six-pack, you don't work for us.
This is
No, I know.
that's the most absurd thing to say.
Colts, everybody say standard. How about we raise them? How about we raise them?
I do like him.
How about we raise them? How about you guys quit getting fucking civilized and you guys quit settling? You know, there's some people in this room that said, I would sue my company if they told me I had to have a six-pack. We know you would. That conversation was for the 1%ers. That wasn't for you. I'm going to tell you this.
If you're fat, you don't work here. I reckon these are going to be great.
The one you're playing before where the guy doesn't shake his hand. Like, I do like Andy Elliott's energy. I understand why some people like that they don't feel an affinity towards him. But
Yeah.
You guys are here for sales training, but I'm here to tell you truly, selling is easy. It's the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. Closing a deal tomorrow, you'll see we'll get on stage and I will shut anybody's ass down, just like you guys can too. And we're going to show you how to do it. But God, man, if you guys don't get this special tie-in from fitness, from health, into the business, you're never going to make it. And listen, you'll never compete with the best and be in the top 1%. That's for sure.
Do you believe that?
about like fitness and
No,
bro,
being
the
the top
thing is-
so many fat
1%.
billionaires.
Listen,
Bro, that's what I was going to say.
Bro,
There's
it's
so
just,
many
look, it's the thing is though.
He's talking about
like,
mindset.
with all due respect to like obviously like I know I train at the gym and shit. This whole notion that like it automatically translates being fit and whatever to the business world is just it's absolute fucking rubbish.
yeah.
It is. It is rubbish.
It can.
Yeah.
But the fact is that you can be really excelling in your health and fitness life. And you
And
can be
still
fucking
broke.
fart assing around and
Yeah.
everything. Like it's
Yeah, well,
like there are behaviors that can like
Cross over.
cross over
Yeah.
and what have you. But like there's just no way that like it's not like there's not an automatic switch over.
Yeah, well, I trained plenty of CEOs that were terrible at training and
Yeah,
terrible
and
at
were
their
gun at
nutrition,
business.
and they were killing it.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you
so
something.
And like quite frankly, a lot of the time
It doesn't translate.
it's like what's that game?
seesaw.
Whack-a-mole. Yeah, exactly. It's a seesaw.
Seesaw,
Like whack-a-mole.
yeah.
When you hit one
Yeah.
goes up. Like excelling at work, you
Yeah.
start to let go of your thing. If you're doing really well in like health and fitness and training, like work drops off a bit. Like it can work that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, and look, don't get me wrong. Like for example, I think about the behaviors that we have. We get up at 5 and train and what have you. But I'll tell you right now, there are days where I can fight us around till fucking 9 a.m. even though I'm back home by like 6:37. It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like, oh great, I've got all these extra hours. No, some days I make the most of it. Some days I don't. Some days I
Yeah.
do shit all, even though I've got more hours in the day technically. So
Yeah. Well, look at Jeff Bezos. He's only just started hitting the gym. Now
Yeah.
he's jacked.
I feel like he already looked pretty
No,
lean.
I would say that in the last 5 years. But then you look at Elon Musk, you look at all the other billionaires. It doesn't look like they.
No, there was a guy.
Oh, I mean, they do jiu-jitsu now.
There was a guy who was the
MMA.
senior vice president at LinkedIn. No word of a lie. His name was Mike Gamson. The most charismatic person I've ever met in my entire fucking life. Ever. You've got to watch some videos of this guy. Anyway, so personable, so relatable, just like captures your attention. Everyone, it's just like the most loved person. Pretty much everyone in the company just absolutely adored him. Anyway, he gets up on stage, he's talking about, he's like pretty lean guy. Everyone's like, oh, so like, you know, how do you look pretty lean and fit? Like, what's your regime? And he literally goes, this is like a sales kickoff with like thousands of people there. He's like, honestly, it's pretty embarrassing, but I do nothing.
No way.
He doesn't do any training whatsoever. He's like, I go on the occasional like walk. and stuff.
So walking, there you go.
You know
I
what I
love
mean?
that.
Just walk.
You know what I mean? But so it's just funny that like obviously like there's a lot of influencers out there online. It's like get up and like you get up at 5 and you do this and like all of this translates to like
It translates
it's
to,
all
I think-
smoke and mirrors.
Again,
man.
we talk about Alex Hormozy a lot, but I love how he's like, the best thing to do to start is just start.
yeah.
Like people do go through like 2-hour routines in the morning and they've done all of this thing when they could have just gone to their desk and started
But
working.
hormones
Taking
is also
action.
like you do what you like. Like he's like, if you like working 16 hours a day,
Just
do it.
work.
I like working and training. That's all I like doing. So if you want to do that, do that.
do
Like,
that. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's not like, there's no prescribed method. Like he said, whatever
Yeah,
you enjoy.
do what you wanna do.
Do what you enjoy. Like,
Do you see yourself staying in sales for a while?
look, I mean, I really like what I do, and I think that, like, I know that we talk about it in the sense of sales, but I love working for a good company with an amazing product that solves like real problems, and seeing the excitement that people get from like investing.
Well, and it's easier now that you can sell your own product because we are actually sponsored by Riverside.
We're using
Soon.
the
We're
product.
using Riverside.
We are.
I think you're always going to be selling though. Like you're probably always going to be
Oh,
selling.
yeah, for
Like,
sure.
Even when you had your cafe, you were selling.
Yeah,
like
and even when I'm like, let's just say I do more property related stuff, like I'm still going to be selling the concept
Yeah,
of like,
you're gonna-
here's why
that's right.
it is a better decision to invest here versus here, and that's
why-
still selling.
That's why they call them influencers.
yeah.
That's
Shackers.
really it. Really.
Shackers.
The Art
we
of
have, boys?
Influence. That's Robert Cialdini.
Any thoughts?
Great book.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. Wow, what a book! If we're talking about sales, god damn, that's a brilliant book to read.
Yeah.
What's another good book sales wise?
Yeah, Robert Cialdini. Influence.
Oh my goodness. Never Split the Difference. It's about a guy who was a former FBI hostage negotiator. Oh my god!
wow.
And he talks about negotiating with like
hostage takers.
with hostage takers. And
Wow, that'd be
fucking
hectic.
unbelievable.
Sabri Subri had a good book I was reading. You know that guy?
The one he was selling online. He's got great ads. His
He
marketing
does.
is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, but his book was good because it takes you through exactly what you should be doing.
Yes.
It's just really
It's very
Ching ching.
applicable.
Applicable, yeah,
It gives
yeah.
you actual practical things to
Things
go and
that you can do, yeah.
I love stuff like that.
Are you tired of? Are you burning money? Have you seen those
Are
ads?
you burning money every week because of your dog shit product?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And that's getting no results.
Yeah.
Well, by this
That's
book.
exactly the script. Fuck, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like him.
Well, I'm
All
bored.
right.
Good job, guys.
Well, let's sell our podcast.
All right, let's
Number 31.
let's all close off with a pitch. Ready? Go. I want you to
Wait a
pitch.
minute,
I want you to
a pitch of
pitch.
what?
I want you to pitch the Dropouts podcast.
Oh fuck, I'm not ready for that.
Okay, Sean.
Well, you got to pitch the episode.
Okay, I'll pitch the episode. Actually, I'm ready for that.
All right, go.
Kick that off. I got nothing. You guys go.
Look, typically when I speak to podcast listeners like yourself, the one thing that we're really hearing at the moment is a lack of consistency. A, they're not dropping on a regular Monday like we are at 5 a.m. every episode.
Oh.
Number two,
Are we?
there's a very set preconceived ideas of what they're talking about. We vary the product, we vary the topics, we vary what we're talking about. And number three, there's a lack of actual applicable real world anecdotal stories, which I think three of us from three different very different walks of life can actually provide some value to you. So if you're walking home, if you're driving home, if you're sitting out there and thinking, I want something to
Hell,
listen
if
to.
you're crawling home.
Hell, if you're crawling home, tune into the Dropouts podcast, 5 a.m. every Monday, episode 31. 3 good-looking blokes on the podcast. And that's
good.
That's the
Well done.
episode.
The tone kills me.
We'll leave it there. That's good.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
That's good.
It's not bad.
Beautiful.
It was good.
It's good.
Good
That's
opener.
good.
It's
Off,
good.
off the cuff.
The
Off the
tone,
cuff.
you need to just be on the radio because you've got.
I've got a head
you
for
got
radio.
You got the fucking smallsy surgery voice.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
G'day guys,
back.
it's Vic
This is
Larusso from
small
thecarcity.com.au. It's an absolute
That's
Steve
it.
Taylor
That's
heading
gone.
down the M4 westbound. Yep.
All
That's
right.
actually fucking gun.
Until 32.
All right, see you, gang. Thanks for tuning in.
Dropouts.
See you.
Snooze.
Catch us.